Try that 2 times. You're exhaling, contracting. Inhale, soften through center. Exhale, go to the other side. When you're ready and you've had enough, you'll just gently roll over so you come onto your back. And if you have a block, you'll want to have the block near you. So it's probably going to feel good to bring the knees into the chest. And we'll do what we did at the beginning of class, where you gently give yourself a hug. So you're going to exhale, draw the forehead toward the knees. Inhale, soften through center. Try that 2 more times. Exhale, draw in, curling. Inhale, soften back down. 1 more time. Exhale, curl. Inhale, soften. Let's release the feet to the floor. I want to do a little bit more of a release for the low back. So you'll draw your right knee into the chest. And you're going to extend, if it's comfortable, your left leg along the floor. Toes will point up toward the ceiling, flex through that heel. Notice the low back lengthening, especially lengthening on the right side. Soften through the shoulders, soften through the neck, and even soften through the jawline. If you want to have a little bit more engagement through the inner thigh, see if you can actually press that knee away from you. So you're pressing the knee into the hands. Notice the engagement in the inner thigh. And then soften and release. If you want to draw the knee back into the chest, you can. Otherwise, relax that foot to the floor. Bend your left knee, and then we'll do the other side. So that left knee goes into the chest. Extend that right leg along the floor. Again, flexing through the heel, toes point up toward the ceiling. You can actually flex through both heels if you really want to engage. And then notice, can I draw the knee into the chest and lengthen through the low back? Again, still soften through the shoulders, soften through the face. And when you're ready, it might feel good to press that knee into the hand. So you're just engaging that thigh in a little bit different way. Might be a little hard to get that inner thigh to fire, but really feel the knee press into the hands, just really gently. And when you've had enough, you'll soften, relax back down. And maybe do a full body stretch here, just to neutralize even further. It might feel good to either interlace the fingers as you press the heel of the hands away from you, and then notice, do I want to point the toes? Notice the low back, might want to lengthen, or do I want to flex through the heels? And again, you're just noticing. Beautiful. When you've had enough, you'll soften back through center. You'll bend the knees, bring the feet to the floor. Hands will come down alongside the pelvis, and then we'll do a little work with a twist next. So you're going to pick up your pelvis. Literally, pick the pelvis off the floor, shift it to the left, bring the pelvis back to the floor, knees come into the chest, arms come out into a T, and then you'll rest the knees toward the right. You want to find the best place for your head. If you want a little bit of a stretch, you'll turn away from the bent knees. If you have a little bit of tension in the neck, simply rest the chin up toward the ceiling. And then the least invasive is the knees, as the head turns toward the bent knees. If you're finding you're having trouble softening through the low part of the body, through the legs, you can bring a prop in between the thighs. And then you'll just take your left hand and then rest that hand on the left side of the body. So it might be the waistline, it might be the hip. And see if you can breathe right where your hand is. You've cultivated now enough awareness, hopefully through that dynamic standing series and the warming up, that now that we're resting on the floor, you can feel that anchor, you feel the steadiness in your breathing. Notice if you can just soften a little bit deeper in the twist. Twists are wonderful poses for assimilation, helps with digestion. Not even just your food, but just digestion of life. Really see if you kind of wring out. We'll just take 2 more breaths here. Really emphasize the exhale. Really like let there be a letting go. When you're ready, you'll draw the arms back out into a T. If it's comfortable, the knees can come into the chest, or simply bring the feet to the floor. Turn your pelvis back to neutral. Take a resting breath through center. You want to make sure that you realign yourself. And then you'll do the other side. So you'll pick the pelvis up, shift it to the right. Knees come into the chest. And then drop the knees toward the floor. And then again, find the best place for your head. And it might be different on this side. Notice too the position of the palms. Notice if you like having the palms facing down toward the floor, or if it feels good to have the palms face up toward the ceiling. You'll know by your shoulders. So if you feel a release through the shoulders, do whatever hand variation got you that more ease in the shoulder area. Same thing about the lower body. Notice if you want or need a prop in between the thighs. And also too, if your shoulder is lifting off the floor at all, you can place a blanket underneath that shoulder. And if you want, you can bring that hand to rest right on the side waistline, maybe even the hip, the sacrum. See if you can emphasize the movement of the breath where your hand is. That's the beauty of touch, is that it automatically shifts the attention to that area of the body. Again, emphasize this stillness and a letting go on your exhale. Hopefully we've moved enough that you can find a little bit more stillness, a little bit more ease in the twist. Maybe 2 more breaths here. When you're ready, you'll gently draw the feet back to the floor. You'll pivot your pelvis to neutral. Soften through center. And this is where you're going to take your block. And you're going to take the block in between your thighs. If you don't have a block, you don't need one. You can also take a blanket or even like a really thin throw pillow at home. You want your feet pretty close to the buttocks. Your hands will come down alongside the pelvis. Palms will face down. We'll do an active bridge, but we'll emphasize the movement coming from the pelvis. So as you're ready, you'll exhale, roll the buttocks together, pubic bone draws toward the navel center. Inhale, lift the buttocks off the floor. You'll begin to lift the pelvis high enough. You'll squeeze your block to help you lift. And if you get high enough, you might want to begin to tuck your shoulder blades under. And then you'll gently clasp underneath the body. Only if it's comfortable. And if you are clasping underneath, really see if you can straighten your elbows so the whole length of the arm presses into the floor to help you get the leverage to lift up through the chest. And again, the block is you're squeezing the block or the throw pillar to help you engage through the inner thighs so you're not losing any energy, and also help you to sustain the pose. When you've had enough, you'll gently untuck the shoulders, release the hands, gently roll the spine back down. You'll remove the block from between the thighs, and then you'll bring the feet mat width apart, and then you'll rock the knees from side to side. So you'll exhale, pivot down, inhale, come back to center, exhale, go to the other side. If you want, you can actually rest your knees toward the right and hold. So you're just in a modified twist here. Again, notice if you can soften through the glutes, soften through the pelvis. Inhale, come back to center, and then you'll gently rock the knees to the other side. Again, emphasizing that letting go on the exhale. Inhale, come back to center. And now I'd like to work with a modified bridge position. So this time we'll take the block and we'll rest the sacrum on the block, but we'll still set up. So you'll roll the buttocks together, pubic bone draws toward the navel center, inhale, lift, and there's 3 levels for the block. So you want to find the perfect level, and you're going to rest your sacrum right on the block. And again, you can use a throw pillow here. If you don't have a block, you can come back into that active variation that we were just doing. So the idea for a supported inversion or supported bridge here is to be comfortable. So think about having the arms kind of splay away from the body. You can actually have them rest on the abdomen if it's comfortable. Palms can face up toward the ceiling. So you can find that opening and collarbones can kind of broaden a little bit there. And then you want to soften through the pelvis. So it's okay if the knees kind of want to splay a little bit wider apart. So if you want to move your feet wider apart, you can. And in this position, find the ease in the breath. For those of you who want a little bit more of a dynamic inversion, you'll just gently draw one knee into the chest, draw your other knee into the chest, and then you'll gently press the heels up toward the ceiling. So you're in a variation of Viparita Karani. If for some reason this isn't comfortable, you'll just simply release the feet back to the floor. For those of you in the pose, really think about, you're still active here, so you'll feel the heels press up toward the ceiling, toes will point toward your face, and then notice the inner thighs activating. So you're active, but you're still slightly relaxed. If you want a little bit more movement, you can play with the foot variation. So if you want to, you can splay the legs wide, so you come into a wide V, out to the side. Notice if that's challenging or feels good for the hips. Or you can bring the feet back to center, and then you'll extend one heel down toward the floor, having the opposite leg stay up toward the ceiling, and then you'll reverse. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, draw back down. It requires a little bit more abdominal strength to do that. And for those of you who feel really comfortable in your low back, you can think about dropping one heel down to the floor, resting that heel at the floor, and then you'll bring your other foot down to the floor. So the heels are on the floor, toes are drawing up toward the ceiling, and you're finding an opening through the front of the hip. And again, if that's too intense for the low back, you'll just gently draw one knee back into the chest. Other knee comes into the chest. And you'll soften back down. But again, you're really emphasizing the stillness that you've cultivated. You're just emphasizing that even further in this inversion. When you've had enough, you'll draw both knees back into the chest. You'll drop one foot to the ground, then the other foot to the ground, and then you'll just gently press yourself up, remove the block, and then as soon as the pelvis hits the floor, you'll bring the feet mat width apart, and then you'll exhale the knees from side to side. Just gently rocking back and forth. When you're ready, the knees will come back into the chest, and just to release a little bit further through the hips as well as through the low back, see if you can draw your knees toward your armpits, and then you'll either clasp around the back of the thighs, or the toes can come up toward the ceiling, the heels will come up toward the ceiling, and you'll be in a variation of happy baby pose. So if you want to clasp around the outer edge of the feet, you can. Otherwise, it's perfectly fine to keep the backs of the thighs clasped. And if you want, you can rock from side to side. So you can exhale, go to one side, inhale, come back to center, exhale, go to the other side. So you're just gently rocking. And when you're ready, you'll bring the feet back to the floor. And then we'll get ready for our relaxation or shavasana. So you'll want to have a prop for behind the head and neck. Some of you, if you have another prop or another blanket, you can roll that blanket up and place it behind the knees. Otherwise, you'll just gently release the legs straight. You'll roll the toes open. And if you have a tendency to be chilled or get cold, you'll want to put layers back on. So socks back on, shirts back on, or have a blanket and rest the blanket gently over the body. And you want to be comfortable here. So make sure the feet are wide enough apart that the toes can roll open so you can release through the pelvis. There's just a gentle tuck of the shoulder blades to lift through the chest. Hands come out far enough away from the body that the palms can face up toward the ceiling, and then you'll just gently curl the fingers toward the palms. And for those of you who wear glasses, it's a good idea to take them off. If you have an eye pill, you can even rest a blanket or something over your eyes just to get the light out of your face. And see if you can, again, rest the body on the floor. You've done a lot of movement to get to this place. A lot of emphasis on how we're breathing, letting the breath initiate the movement. Now, hopefully, we've moved enough that you can kind of rest the body on the floor as we begin to move through different areas of the body to find a deeper release for systematic relaxation. So hear the sounds of the room, hear the sounds of my voice, and see if you can turn that attention inward, and you do that by focusing on your breath. Let the inhale, the belly will rise toward the ceiling. And as you exhale, belly falls down toward the spine. And continue that awareness of the abdomen for now. Want you to remember that every time you inhale, there's a nourishing, strengthening quality to it. Every time you exhale, there's a cleansing, there's a letting go. We've been doing this throughout the whole class, but now we're just going to emphasize the idea of it. Notice if the breath is cyclical in nature, so there's a weaving of the inhale and exhale together. Notice if the breath is now deep, if it's smooth, if it's quiet, and if it's continuous. We'll use the breath as a filtration system, letting the inhale nourish, the exhale cleanse. When you're ready, draw your attention to the crown of your head. See if you can soften right around the forehead, the eyebrows, the eyelids, even the eye sockets. Softening around the temples, drawing down the awareness to the ears. Noticing the sides of the head, the cheeks, and then resting right at the nose. You might even feel the touch of the breath right at the nostrils. Draw down to the lips, the teeth, and soften through the tongue. Relax through the jawline. Find the pit of the throat. Find the areas of the tops of the shoulders, and then draw the attention all the way through the arms, the elbows, forearms, wrists, areas of both hands, and then rest right at the fingertips and the thumbs. You'll draw back up through the arms. Find your way to the chest. Noticing the lungs expanding. And then soften right through the area of the heart, offering this nourishing quality to the heart. Draw down once again to your abdomen, finding that rise and fall at the navel center. Softening through the pubic bone, areas of both hip bones. Drawing down through the legs, find the thighs, the knees, the shins, the ankles, tops of the feet, and then rest right at the toes. Flooding the whole lower body with this healing energy. Notice the heels resting on the floor, softening through the backs of the calves, backs of the knees, backs of the thighs. Relax both glutes. Feel the touch of the breath along the curve of the low back. Softening the mid-back, area of the shoulder blades, and the whole part of the upper back. Feel the curve of the neck. Feel the head resting on its support. And then you'll come once again to the crown of your head. See if you can relax even your mental effort. You are simply letting the body breathe. Knowing that you are not asleep, that you're totally alert to the expansion of the inhale and cleansing quality of the exhale. You're welcome to stay in this position. For those of you who are ready to move outward, you'll just take a slightly deeper breath. You can gently invite movement to fingertips and to toes. You can rock your head from side to side. If you want, you can even stretch the body long. But just move very mindfully. You've worked enough to cultivate this steady ease, this slowness. You'll just gently roll to one side, supporting your head with your upper arm. Gently bend the knees. And you'll just rest here in this fetal-like position for just a moment. This stillness, you've cultivated it, and it's always here for you. In times where you need to find that stillness, just know that it rests in the quality of your breathing. Let the breath help you as you move through your day. You'll just gently press yourself up to close class. Might feel good to sit on something. Could be a block, could be a blanket, could be the throw pillow. Want to make sure your knees are lower than your hips. You'll just scan the body one more time. You'll roll the shoulders back. And just bring your hands to rest right at the heart center. Really honor yourself for your practice. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Namaste.